All right, so we're going to go through a couple of the special right triangle problems and kind of how I want you to set them up. All right, so for question 1, we can tell from this triangle that we're looking at a 45, 45, 90 because we can find the third angle here, so we know that's a 45, 45, 90. So we're going to use a tic-tac-toe method to kind of help us set it up so we know which values we have and which values we're looking for. So first, I'm going to start with, I know I have a 45, 45, 90 triangle, okay? So that's the first row in the tic-tac-toe chart. And then second of all, got to remember, well, what's the ratios? How do they relate? So if that's the x, and this one will be x times the square root of 2. Just so we know which information we have, okay? So then if we look at our picture or our diagram, we have this 8 here, which is across from a 45-degree angle. So we know that's one of the legs. So then we know the other leg must be 8, and then the hypotenuse has to be 8 square roots of 2 because we have to multiply the x value by 2. So that puts us at the x is another 8, and the y, which is the hypotenuse, is 8 square roots of 2. Okay. All right, so let's look at question 2. Question 2 is also a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So we're going to set up our tic-tac-toe chart, 45, 45, 90. And then we know the rules are x times the square root of 2. So now let's figure out, what did they give us in this one? We have this 25, which is across from a 45-degree angle. So now we know that's a leg. And so the other leg must also be 25, which will make the hypotenuse 25 square roots of 2. Okay? So that makes this other leg, which is y, across from the other 45, is 25, and the hypotenuse is 25 square roots of 2. So x should be 25 square roots of 2, and y is 25. Be careful when answering this because x and y could be on a leg or a hypotenuse. All right, let's look at question 3. Again, question 3 is a 45, 45, 90. So again, we have 45, 45, 90. And so the rules are x times the square root of 2. And so what did they give us here? They gave us the hypotenuse, and we know because it's the side opposite the right angle. So now the 19 goes here, and we need to now figure out what x is. Well, if 19 is equal to the x square root of 2, in order to find x, we need to divide it by the square root of 2. So we're going to do 19 divided by the square root of 2. Now, the reason we don't like it like that is because it has a radical in the denominator. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2 to kind of clear it out. So now I'm left with 19 square roots of 2 all over 2. And because 19 divided by 2 doesn't simplify very pretty, we can leave it. So this is 19 square roots of 2 over 2. That's what our x value will be. And it's the same for the other leg. So both of these would be 19 square root of 2 over 2. And same for y. Okay. All right, let's look at question 4. From question 4, we can see this is a 30, 60, 90, which this is the 30-degree angle. So we're going to start our tic-tac-toe chart with a 30, 60, 90. And so our rules for the 30, 60, 90 are x. The x times the square root of 3, and then 2x. So let's figure out what they gave us. We got this 5, which is across from the 30-degree angle. So that's the short side. So that's a 5. So then our 60-degree side, or our longer side, would be 5 square roots of 3. We're just plugging in x. And then we're going to plug in x here, so 2 times 5, which would be 10. Okay? So our hypotenuse, which is y, is 10, and our long leg will be 5 square roots of 3. All right, let's look at question 5. This is also a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So we're going to write it. We're going to do our tic-tac-toe just so we can keep our information organized. So 30, 60, 90 triangle. So we know the rule is x times the square root of 3, and then 2x. So let's figure out what they gave us. So if I look, they gave us across from the 30, so now we have the short side, and we know that's 14. So then we know that the 60 side, or the longer side, will be 14 square roots of 3, and 90, we're going to do 14 times 2, which is 28. All right, so now we know the hypotenuse is 28, and then we know the long leg should be 14 square roots of 3. And so we can just fill it in here, 28, 14 square roots of 3. All right, let's move on to question 6. Again, we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So I'm going to start with my tic-tac-toe, 60, 90. And then we have our rule, which is an x times square root of 3, and 2x. Now let's go back to the problem. What did they give us? We have 32, which is across from the 90-degree angle, so we know that's the hypotenuse. So they gave us 32. So if I divide that by 2, I can get x, which is 16. And then to get the long leg, it's just 16 square roots of 3. 16 times the square root of 3. So we know the short leg, which is x, is 16. And y, which is the long leg, is 16 square roots of 3. Number 7 is a 30, 60, 90 triangle again. So we're going to set it up. 30, 60, 90. And we do our rule, x square root of 3, 2x. And we constantly keep writing the rule because the more we write it, the better we'll commit that to memory. All right, so in this picture, what did they give us? Again, they gave us across from the right angle, they gave us the hypotenuse. So our hypotenuse is 46. So we got to divide that by 2 to get our short leg. So that short leg is 23. And then this is 23 square roots of 3. Okay, so x in this picture would be the long leg, so that's 23 square roots of 3, and y is the short leg, which is 23. All right, number 8 is a 30, 60, 90 triangle again. So we start our rule, 30, 60, 90. And then our rules are x times the square root of 3, and then 2 times x. So let's go back to our picture. What do we have? We have 20, which is across from the 60-degree angle. So we have the long leg. Okay? So now we have 20. Now in order for us to figure out what the short leg is, we need to take that 20 and divide it by the square root of 3. Okay, but we don't like radicals in the denominator, so we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 3. So we get 20 square roots of 3 over 3. Okay, so now being that they don't simplify, the 20 over 3 doesn't simplify anymore, we know our short leg is 20 square roots of 3 over 3. And to get the hypotenuse now, we just need to take the short leg and double it. So that would be 40 square roots of 3 over 3. So in this picture, x is the hypotenuse, and that's 40 square roots of 3 over 2. And y is the short leg, which is 20 square roots of 3 over 3. Sorry, this should be a 3, not a 2. Sorry. And the last one for practice, number 9. Again, we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So let's set up our tic-tac-toe, 30, 60, 90, so we can keep our information nice and neat. And we know the rule is x times the square root of 3, and then 2 times x. So let's go back to our picture. What do we have? We have the long side, which is across from the 60-degree angle. So that's the 9 square roots of 3. So in order to find the short side, we need to divide that by the square root of 3, which we get 9. And then to get the hypotenuse, we multiply it by 2. We get 18. Okay? So the hypotenuse is y, so that's 18. And the short leg is 9. Okay? So hopefully that helps, and then you get to do some practice.